She's just too shy.
Okay. Well, guys, we are live. Right after the overtime win against Michigan. What an exciting finish! If I'd have known that Iowa was going to respond when I moved to my office and set it up on my cell phone, I would have did it earlier in the game, so we wouldn't have had to gone to overtime.
Clemson was they were 50th in the country in offense.
Okay. Which is not bad. I'd take that for Iowa.
Well, that'll never happen for Iowa. I mean, they play in the ACC. There's apples, there's oranges.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things. And Iowa doesn't run no huddle. Clemson will run.
We would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge Coach Heck's. I don't know what that is.
Handlebars?
I don't know what that, but
my wife's on her way to your part of the world. So I got to, I'm too sexy the way I am. So I got to do something to ugly this down a little bit.
Love it, man. Love it.
I got to get the camera in the right spot. I got
2020. Welcome to 2023, everybody, with Coach Heck and the handlebars.
Right. A different vibe tonight than our last show together, guys. Let's make it fun all night.
Hey, we're celebrating because Muck Fishigan. Can we say that?
Right.
Can we say that?
Yes. Stanford. The boys are making me look silly. I went on a rant, remember? I went on a rant against our boys. In the last two games, they've made me look silly, and I love it.
It's the wacky world of college basketball. This Michigan team, right before Big Ten season started, they lost at home to Central Michigan as 22-point favorites. Then Iowa basketball on the same day said 22-point favorites, hold my beer, right? and then Michigan wins their first three Big Ten games in a row. And, of course, Iowa loses their first three. It's crazy. It's crazy basketball.
Right now, but Iowa basketball right now is 3-3 in the Big Ten. I don't know where that is in the standings. Michigan falls to 3-2. Minnesota is the only team that hasn't won a game in the Big Ten yet.
Not true. They beat Ohio State tonight.
Did they really? Oh,
yeah.
my God.
You're getting ahead of me. I was just going to ask you this question.
What's that?
Because Minnesota is absolutely awful, right?
Yeah.
They're 7-8 now after their big victory tonight over Ohio State.
So
Ohio State is pretty good. Now, Are they really good? Is there anybody in the Big Ten in basketball that is very good?
Well, at one point, Purdue was ranked number 1 in the country.
Right, but have they had any competition? Like, is the Big Ten not up to par with anybody? Like, as far as look at what Michigan State did. They were losing in the non-conference against big-time foes, and now Michigan State's back to winning. In the Big Ten.
Well, I just want to point out that during the Iowa-Michigan broadcast, they were pimping their Saturday games. It was Kentucky playing Tennessee and North Carolina playing somebody else, and neither Kentucky or North Carolina were ranked. So, when was the last time that was the case?
Right. Is Kentucky just don't have the talent this year, or is it? What the heck? What happened to Kentucky?
They brought CJ.
Is CJ playing? I keep forgetting to look.
He's a backup. He was a starter, but he went one game where he was 0 for 8 from 3 or something.
Okay.
And then they put him on the bench, but he still plays. Now he got hurt. So I don't know if he's played the last 2 games.
But CJ being hurt, color me shocked. But
but they bringing CJ on brought Kentucky bad karma. If you guys remember my argument with his uncle months before, because I already knew CJ was leaving. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
And his uncle kept saying, "No, he's not." I'm like, "You're lying to the Iowa fans," and Iowa fans got all over me, saying, "This is his uncle. He really knows." I'm like, "Okay." Next thing we knew, what happened in March? He went to
Right.
Kentucky. Exactly what I said.
Yeah. I don't think people have forgiven CJ yet for the way he left the team. And it's not the fact that he left, but it's how he left.
Yeah, but I don't blame CJ. I blame his handlers, like his uncle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his uncle was just shady as hell. Then he asked me if I knew some Kentucky coach. He's like, "Do you know Coach so-and-so?" I don't remember now. But I was like, "No, I know from somebody else who knows." You think you could have something like this in like something as big as Iowa basketball and somebody inside don't know? Like,
right.
It's weird how people think they can keep secrets, although Kirk is the master of the secrets. Because I'm hearing things right now that it's taken forever to come out. So I guess that's a perfect segue into that crap. Because I thought we'd have Jim Savota by now. Well, I didn't.
Well, before we get to the football talk, and I know that Phil Parker's pew is anxious because he wants to see Paul drunk. But let's just talk a little basketball here. Let's get a few minutes out of the way. First thing I want to ask you guys is about damn it and getting teed up. What do you think?
Watch that language.
Apparently the ref thought it was bad.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch the game last night?
Mm-hmm.
I did not.
Okay.
I did.
Did you think that the her saying "damn it" on just telling herself "damn it" warranted a technical?
Absolutely not.
No, it's the dumbest thing ever, and it goes into. Did you see, Caitlin's post game interview? Because she was spot on. You should go back and watch it. She's passionate, right? Like the men.
Sure.
How many times do the men say that? I mean, seriously, how many times do they use the F word?
Right.
And like she said, she's passionate about women's basketball. She's passionate about her team. Mm-hmm. But women get teed up for saying, "Damn it," for crying out loud. Mm-hmm. But you hear and you see, you can read lips.
Oh, yeah.
And they're saying a lot worse than that.
Hey,
so
if damn it was worth a T in men's basketball, Fran wouldn't make it through like the first 3 minutes of any basketball game.
I agree.
He'd be thrown out like within the first 3 minutes.
Well, you know, the crazy thing about it is Caitlin has said worse to the referees when she doesn't like a call that didn't go her way, and she's not been teed up then.
It depends on the ref. It's all about who the ref is. And this ref probably thinks that the women should act like ladies on the court and, be all nice to each other. I mean, it's just when you get teed up for saying "damn it" because you miss a shot or make a bad pass, right. It's 100% the silliest thing ever. And that's even in high school.
Was it a male official that teed her up? Because usually aren't there women officials for women's games?
I don't think there was any women. I don't think there was any woman official in this game. If there was, it was just one.
Oh.
I believe it was a male who teed her up.
It was a male.
Awfully bold of you two to assume their genders. How about that? So.
I didn't assume. I watched the game.
That's the point, Phil Parker's paw. That's 100% the point.
But did you ask those refs their preferred pronouns? That's
I look like a shady cop. If I'm pulling you over, there's something going on.
Okay, so all right. Let's talk briefly about tonight's game.
I love that idea.
Iowa was in it most of the night. They only had a couple of downfalls. They did have that long stretch between the end of the half and beginning of the first half where they didn't score any points, and I thought that might be their undoing. But to their credit, they kept their poise. Came out. I like that lineup. That honestly, leaving Ulis and Perkins on the bench worked. I mean, he did bring Perkins out for just a few minutes in the second half, but basically putting Perkins and Ulis, he never brought Ulis off the bench again. And it's because those guys are trying to do too much with the ball. They need to pass more.
Yeah.
They over-dribble. They're trying to do too much passing because they're trying to get shots for themselves. And I understand that, but you can't force a shot that ain't there. You just need to let the game come to you. If it's there, then drive the hole and lay it in. But darn it, Stop it.
It wasn't about that.
Yeah.
It was about defense.
I
Defense.
think we need to point out too that Coach
Those are
Hack
two of our
has
better defenders, by the way.
Coach Hack has 2 hands again.
Oh yeah, I got a scar though. Can you see the
Yeah.
scar? But oh, he just froze up. Did you see him froze up? I thought maybe Jesus scored a touchdown.
Who froze up?
You did, Dean. You were like,
Really?
you froze like this. But here, I'm gonna look at something, but I guarantee you, Josh Dix's plus minus was unbelievable.
Yeah, while you looked at, at halftime they showed that Iowa had missed 10 of their last 12 shots, and I think we were down 3 or 5 at half, and I thought to myself, it didn't feel like they had missed 10 of their last 12, and they were right in the game. I'm like, okay. I kind of felt like Iowa had a real good chance to win the game because even the announcers at halftime sort of were hinting at the idea that Michigan really couldn't keep up the pace that they had set in the first half of scoring and shooting percentages. Like they would revert to the mean.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be honest, for me, what won the game? Well, Sanford won the game.
Yeah, Sanford.
Right? With him knocking down shots in the second half is what brought Iowa back, right?
Right.
But I think keeping Ewis and Perkins on the bench is what brought Iowa back too. Those two were a huge reason why Michigan was hitting their threes because they would not. Did you see? I can't remember. I don't want to make something up or whatever, but I can't remember the beat writer. There was a beat writer on Twitter that said, it just came across my phone, and he said that Fran McCaffrey is laying into Perkins, like Perkins did something, really bad. So, and I guarantee it was right after Fran called a timeout with those 3-pointers that Michigan was making. So It's because Ewis wasn't guarding anybody and Perkins wasn't guarding anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
I think those are two man-to-man defenders. For the life of me, I don't understand zone, but I learned why Fran runs this zone because it's a New Jersey zone. Apparently, there's a big-time coach in New Jersey where Fran's from who makes fun of everybody who plays man-to-man defense.
Oh.
Something like he always says, "Are you still chasing all those players around?"
Yeah.
But when you have better athletes, man-to-man works. And Ewis and Perkins are more man-to-man defenders, in my opinion, whereas Dix and Sanford both are probably better at zone, right? I'm a football guy. I don't know for facts. I know that as a football guy, I like man-to-man defense in basketball just because it's a smaller area and you'd be in their face on those 3-pointers, right? That pick-and-roll 3-pointer that Iowa just kept giving Michigan – it was the silliest thing because the guy he would come up to pick, but he wouldn't actually pick. And Ewis or Perkins or whatever would stay behind the person that's going to be getting picked, right? Just waiting for the guy to go either way. And then he just shoots a wide open 3. That defense is dumb. I don't get it. And when you're consistently bad at defense and yet you just keep doing it every year, it doesn't make sense to me in that regards. But the game went because Iowa started doing what they do, which is knock down shots, right?
Yeah.
It's those games they can't where they lost 48-46 to Rutgers is where it really bothers you.
How awesome was the Peyton Sanford 4-point play? And then he followed that up with the air ball rebound 3-point play. Like it was just –
yeah.
I mean, those 7 points that was the game.
No, yeah. No, it was, he was on fire. He was amazing. It sucks that we don't have a game tomorrow. Because he hit one of those strides in the second half, and maybe he's just better coming off the bench too, right?
Right.
That he hit those spots to where the hoop looks like, it's this big.
Right.
It's like for normal people or whatever, it's like when you're throwing a football and just all of a sudden you're hitting a target, or you're bowling strike after strike, because you're seeing it, you're feeling it, everything. You're like, just wow, man, this is awesome, right? He was in one of those hot streaks where no matter what he threw up was going in. Like, it was amazing. He scored 14 points in a row, didn't he? Wasn't it like 14 points in the last 5 minutes or something, they said?
He may have. But in conjunction with that, I think it's fair to point out that it looked to me like Chris Murray had some dead legs there at the end.
Yeah. He probably played too many minutes. I'm not sure how often.
I'm not sure. I don't know if he ever actually came out at any point.
Right.
He might have played all 45.
That's actually what I'm waiting for right now I'm waiting for the stats, all the stats of the game. I mean, ESPN might have them, but I wait for my plus minus guy to.
I'm actually trying to find the stats right now. Nobody's got them, it seems like, right now. Okay.
Well, ESPN will. I'll go there to see how many minutes.
Yeah.
Well, while you guys are looking that up, let me just throw out there that all three Florida NFL teams are in the playoffs this year, including my Jacksonville Jaguars, who AFC South champions. We will be hosting the Los Angeles San Diego Chargers. And
how come you're hosting? You got a better record than they do?
No, they won
division champ.
Their division champ.
Oh.
And so congrats to CJ Beathard and
Sunshine. Sunshine, your quarterback.
Oh yeah.
He Trevor Lawrence, like Sunshine. Remember
he
that?
Does. Brandon Scherf and Mekhi Sargent and Coy Cronk and
Is Mekhi Sargent still there?
He's on our practice squad.
Oh, okay.
So,
but Sanford went off 9 of 17 shooting, 4 of 9 from 3, 26 points.
Welcome back, Peyton.
Welcome back.
Yeah, and he only had one personal foul, and if you remember, that one was on purpose.
Right
at the end of the first half.
I thought we were cooked when Rubacha got his his second foul, and then his third. And I thought, how are we going to do this with Riley in there? But Riley held his own.
Yeah, that's the other story of the night to me is Riley Mulvey. He played some really good minutes. How about running down the floor? Mulvey running the floor, getting that like fast break bucket. I mean, just
great. He did well too. Look at Josh Dix, 5 assists. I'm not even sure he played half the game. You think? I know he played the most of the second half. Right? How much did he play?
Oh, come on, Phil Parker.
He was out there quite a bit in the first half too.
What is that, dude? What is that? I'm sorry, I don't mean to assume your gender, Phil Parker's paw, but that's silly. That's silly talk. I mean,
he's just trying to get me fired up. He got me fired up on Facebook one day about Nate Stanley.
Nate the Great.
He really don't understand.
I think he's still trying to get you fired up over Nate Stanley because Nate Stanley's 4 years ago, and we're still talking about Nate Stanley.
I just want to point out that for at least 2 years, Nate Stanley was pulling in an NFL paycheck. I don't think TP at this point will be pulling in an NBA paycheck. I'm just
3 years. I think he's been pulling in a paycheck for 3 years, right?
And he currently has a lawsuit against Minnesota because he got hurt and then they cut him without fixing it.
So apparently you can't do that while they're hurt.
It's not apparently. It's in the contract that if you get hurt playing football, that they have to fix you. They can't just kick you to the curb and make you pay for it. So, which is what Minnesota's trying to do. But Nate
Coach is always correct. Hack's always right.
Yeah. That's why he's on the show, because he's always right.
And I'm sexy.
Yeah.
Apparently, your new look.
Well,
hey guys, I'm proud to say that right now my new look is coming into feature. I got 14 pounds down now.
Oh, nice. Good work.
Yeah. I'll find out if my latest blood work has shown a lot of improvement inside my body. We'll find that out.
Well, let's hope it's not outside your body.
Well, you
Like an outer
talking
body
about sugar
experience?
levels, diabetes levels, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Well, shall we move on to our football that we never got to talk about?
Yeah, let's
feature?
talk some foosball.
Okay, I want to start. Okay, we've got how many guys did we get in the transfer portal so far? 1, 2, 3. I got 8 or 9 guys that we've gotten back, maybe 7. 7. Okay, so we get 2 quarterbacks, which we did need to get a couple of quarterbacks. We got a wide receiver. We have a defensive end. We got 2 tight ends, an offensive tackle. Do we have enough, or do we need more?
I like what we've done in the portal.
I mean, I like what we have. I think we'll be fine, but I was just hoping for another tackle. I was just hoping. I mean, Trevor Locke just has to be the guy now, in my opinion. And I think he will be. He was a 4-star, but for what reason? Offensive linemen are so hard to gauge.
Right.
We don't know how good any of these guys, even the big boy who went to Alabama. We don't know, because in high school you don't go up against people your size. So if you're as big as these boys, even Trevor Locke, if you're as big as them, you're going to dominate most games and look like you're unbelievable.
Right.
I remember Blake Larson, who's a 5-star from my hometown, and I knew he wasn't going to amount to much when he took the offseason off, pretending like he was injured in basketball. I was like, oh, you're in for a long day at Iowa. And he never played, if you guys remember.
Yeah.
Right.
And then Iowa followed that up with Dan Doring.
Yeah.
And he was a high 4-star, 5-star, depending on the and I don't know if he played some. I think he got a few snaps here and there, but
yeah, we had a guy named, I think it was Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller.
Yeah, he transferred to Nebraska.
He did transfer, but he never got any playing time at Iowa either.
Well, I mean, if you're good, you're going to play at Iowa on the offensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to get away if you actually have skills. Right?
But let's not discount the idea that Richmond can't get better, right? I mean, he's going to be a senior, I think, this year coming up. I think he was a junior this year.
No, yeah, he's going to be good.
Yeah.
Richmond, I thought, was a freshman.
He was a freshman.
Our left tackle?
No, yeah, the left tackle. He was a soft freshman or sophomore.
He was at least
the only upperclassman. The only upperclassman was
Plum,
the right tackle.
Oh, okay.
But let me look for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, Richmond's going to be good.
Yeah.
But we need a right tackle. All I care about is a right tackle, because I believe Connor Colby has it set at right guard. The fact that people don't understand this, I was just in an argument with some dude who he started the conversation, like he sent me this message, and it was huge. Started the conversation with, "I love your page because it's very fan friendly," and then just went into this total crap about Iowa's offensive line. The lifting weights isn't there. The defense is there still. It's not the weightlifting. If you can't, then he's like, then we have this excuse of young offensive linemen. It's not an excuse. It's real. And players were playing out of position.
Correct.
Right? I mean, we had Connor Colby at right tackle trying to pass block, and we saw what happened. He is not quick enough, right, to play right tackle. Everybody was playing out of position because they're so young and hurt. Britt was out. I mean, and we had our center who just moved over from the defense, who's just learning on the fly, right?
Right.
There's so many things that, but people want to just make up stuff because it makes them feel better about why. What started was the kid who went to Alabama. Yeah. That's what started the whole argument, and he just started making fun of Iowa.
So yeah. What do you think about the rumor that Yahweh Black might move over from defense to the offensive line?
No way.
You don't think so? They say he's got the size and stuff.
Well, size, but I don't think you move him from the defensive line. I think Iowa likes having that depth there. They like having the rotation there, and I mean, I don't No, I
It was
like.
Well, do they have any? Do they have any choice to look over on the defensive side of the ball for maybe a little help? Because I mean, obviously, this David Davidoff is not going to work out because he's going into his third year in the program, and he probably not going to play again for Iowa.
Well, we don't know that. His issue.
We don't, but
he,
something's odd there. They're not talking about him. They're keeping everything quiet.
Sort of like they did with Johnson, the wide receiver.
Right, but this one, we know what he did. He went after a coach. But apparently that's what they did in the 80s. I talked to somebody who was around the program in the 80s when Hayden Fry was there, and apparently there was fights in practice, right? Coaches were going after players. Players were going after coaches.
Really?
And then at the end of the day, it was all good on game day, right? I mean, it was like a big family. It was like beating up your older brother or something. So apparently this is new. I was shocked when I heard he went after Barnett, but apparently other people who grew up knowing things in the 80s, I was, still a puppy in the 80s. But back then under Hayden Fry, I mean, there was legit fights in practice.
I do want to address Phil Parker's question here about getting Doyle back, because I obviously not, but I will say this. Doyle worked with the offensive line, right? Like when he was there, like that was, he wasn't the O-line coach, but I mean, like I do think he had an impact on the he had an impact in building up Robert Gallery from a tight end to a tackle, right? To the best tackle to now college football Hall of Famer, Robert Gallery. He had an impact on a lot of guys that came through the program that he built up on the offensive line. And so, no, we aren't going to get Doyle back, but I do want to recognize his contributions to Hawkeye football.
Right.
But this guy who we hire now was his assistant.
Correct.
He knows what Doyle did. I'm
Right.
sure the weightlifting is pretty much the same, right?
Yeah,
Really
but
close. The only thing that Doyle did that this guy probably can't do because his personality-wise is he was mean. Doyle was a prick. Man, I heard so many – before they fired him, I heard so many stories. That's why when this came out and they fired him, I believed everything. And I still believe it. I mean, because he was such a prick. Like, he literally would walk on the fingers of the players during warm-ups and act like he was being funny. And they're like, ah! Like, he was just a you-know-what. So I don't want Doyle back. I wanted to give this guy a chance. Linderbaum went from defensive line to center.
Right.
And Doyle only had Linderbaum for, a few months before he got fired. So,
speaking of Linderbaum, supposedly his short arms, he wasn't going to make it in the NFL, and he's just kicking butt.
Oh, yeah.
Tristan Wirth kicking butt. 23 years old. The guy's going to be one of the best paid. Jeez.
The right tackle. Mind. He's the highest paid right tackle in NFL history.
Right.
$24 million a year.
Okay. Now think about this for a minute. And we couldn't land Proctor for right tackle, and he sees what Wirth is doing.
That's what started the argument. But, I mean, his mom's not going to have to work at Target anymore. We can say that.
Yeah.
Not that she would have had to if he came to Iowa, but that's beside the way. Yeah, he didn't want to have to settle for Iowa. Okay?
Well, apparently he's in his explanations. He's saying that Iowa actually offered more to him, and then Alabama did. It wasn't about the money.
It's false. I know that. Okay, I know what both offered, and he's wrong.
I know he's just lying to appease the Iowa fans to get him off his back.
Well, no, I think he's trying to talk himself into he made the right decision. I honestly believe his mom made the decision, and he's not really sure because his friends are at Iowa.
I don't think that there was a wrong decision to make there. There really wasn't. But
if he's good, he's good. I mean,
right.
If he's not, he's not. So, I mean, there wasn't a wrong decision for him personally, right? Because at Alabama, if he's good, he's going to ball out and he's going to get drafted.
You know what?
Alabama will probably be back in the national title game next year. So
I think if he had the opportunity, like if he had a time machine and he could go back and just never say, I felt like I was settling at Iowa and just said, look, I felt like I had a better opportunity to win national championships at Alabama. Like nobody would have any gripes to say. If he could just take back, I felt like I was settling.
Mason Richmond was a sophomore. Jack Plum was the only senior on the offensive line.
Okay, so Richmond will be a junior this year. Okay. So we lose a whole mess of people into the transfer portal who have all lost track. Apparently, Johnson and Jacobs so far the only two Power 5s to sign with the Power 5 school, but they're predicting that Bruce should be because he's being offered by Power 5. Has Terry Roberts got any offers yet that you guys have heard of?
Penn State and Oregon.
Oh, okay. So he'll end up at Power 5. Everybody else is going to go down a level, it sounds like, in order to play. They're not going to be able to.
Iowa didn't lose much in the portal.
No.
It's not like they lost at Alabama, right? Mm-hmm. All these other schools, Texas A&M lost like 10 5-stars.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, this portal stuff isn't going to hurt Iowa like it hurts everybody else. And it actually could end up helping Iowa because then they can take from like Wyoming, who, when they have players that ball out, well, hey, you want to go up to play in the Big Ten, right?
Well, we got Rodney Filer's son, right? Like, wasn't he a pretty highly rated recruit coming out of high school? Or am I thinking of somebody else, the kid that went to Wisconsin, maybe?
You're thinking of the kid that went to Wisconsin.
Oh, Deacon Hill? He was a highly recruited guy.
No, I'm thinking of a former Iowa.
The kid you don't even hear about now.
Yeah, his son
was for Iowa.
Yeah, legacy kid.
Yeah,
Rodney Flyer or whatever his name is. Yeah,
Filer. No, it wasn't him.
Flyer.
We're not talking about that, Dean.
Who are we talking about? You didn't mention the name, and the last name you mentioned was Flyer.
The kid that went to Wisconsin, the linebacker. He wanted to play in a 3-4 defense. He wanted an engineering degree, which is something Iowa could not, do for him.
Okay.
So he went to Wisconsin to play football there.
Okay.
And I can't think of his name, but he was like a high 4-star linebacker, but you haven't heard anything from him since he went to Wisconsin. So
yeah.
Well, who the heck we talking about?
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought. It's just like, okay.
Well, Rodney Filer's son is now at Iowa. So
yeah,
and he was like an All-American or something at the
junior college
level. But you know what? Those guys.
He played with Goodson's brother. Did you know that? Goodson's brother plays for Iowa Western.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Really?
They won the national championship this year too.
I watched that game. I know that.
Oh.
At that time, I didn't know there was anybody headed for Iowa, or I would have watched a little closer.
By the way, Iowa's been pretty selective with getting JUCO guys, but when they do, they almost always hit.
Yeah,
I mean,
almost
one of them's a Jaguar now.
Huh?
One of them's a Jaguar now, a former JUCO player.
Mackay?
Yes.
Okay.
He came from the same college that
yeah. He came from Iowa Western.
Okay.
Yeah. He went from can you imagine? He went from Key West to Iowa Western. How that happened. But yeah.
Yeah. Does Mackay play, by the way, or is he on the practice squad?
He's on the practice squad.
Okay.
But he's making a paycheck.
Okay. That's true. He's helping Jaguars get ready for the game week in and week out. And
Duval.
Who do you guys like in my Vikings versus the Giants this week?
I sure hope the Vikings win that game. I have another good buddy who's a Vikings fan, so shout out to him and good luck, Minnesota.
Good luck because your defense sucks. So. Yeah. I think Barkley could go for 100, and last time Daniel passed for over 300, and he's not a passer, but against Minnesota he is. So It's going to be one of those games that it probably will be a Minnesota game where they just flop.
Well, maybe Chad Greenway will come out of retirement, so.
I don't think he can help him right now.
How
old is he? He's probably, 40? So
he's a man. He's 40.
Yeah, but they got Hawkinson.
Yeah, they do have Hawkinson.
Yeah, Minnesota's going to have to score, and they can score, but their defense is so bad that if they don't score, that's why I love having a strong defense more than I do an offense.
Right.
Just for some fact, you're always in the game with a good defense. The
What I
pressure
want to
is
see
on
is the
Minnesota.
NFC Championship game involving San Francisco and Minnesota.
Yeah. Would you really don't want to have a porous defense and go up against Saquon Barkley? Because I mean that dude he's special.
I think he's
Is
probably going to go
he
off.
with New York?
There's a lot of Iowa fans that'll tell you that have been inside Kinnick and seen Saquon firsthand and say that he's maybe one of the top 5 players they've ever seen inside Kinnick Stadium.
I think we all know that. We all saw the game.
Yeah.
He made Josie Jewell look like a fool.
Yeah. So did Christian McCaffrey. So there's that.
Yeah, same thing.
Who did Deary Brothers give a Jeep to?
Oh, my
Proctor?
goodness. Yes.
I'm sure he gave it back.
He had to have. There's just no way.
Who's Dairy Brothers?
They're a car dealership in over in middle of Iowa.
Yeah, they're also in Cedar Falls, Waterloo too.
Yeah, middle of Iowa.
I bought all my cars through Deary Brothers when I lived there.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I wish. I mean, we're going to get into this football thing. What are we going to do? You got questions for me, or you want me just to go?
Just go.
Just go.
Just go.
Let it go, man. Let it
I
go.
thought I could carry this with the notes I took, but I'm losing ground.
What a waste of time writing notes down. No, but I'm still hearing Brian's gone, so I'm still on that. There's some weird stuff going on. Jim Savota, the guy who I really want, you guys know, I want to take over. If he takes over as OC, I'm good with Brian leaving, right? To me, it depends on who they actually bring in if Brian is leaving. Because if they bring in that Michigan coach that people like, because what he did at Michigan, but he's not quarterback friendly, he's not wide receiver friendly. So what are all the Hawkeye fans are going to say when they don't use wide receivers? Michigan hasn't had a quarterback since 2004 have a season like Nate Stanley's sophomore and junior years. There you go, Phil Parker's paw. Look that up. Nobody for Michigan has thrown for 26 touchdowns in a season since 2004. They don't use the wide receivers. They run the football at a 65% clip compared to Iowa's 50% clip. This year, Iowa had 487 called pass plays, 485 called run plays. Now, if that isn't 50-50, I don't know what is. And I got to argue with somebody who tried to tell me Iowa runs the ball 90% of the time. I just throw my papers in the air. Notebook.
No, it's never been 50.
You don't even.
I mean, it's never been 90.
No, like you don't even watch Iowa games. You're just spitting sewage. So, no, I mean, if they bring in that dude, it's just going to be the same. Yeah, we're going to spread the field. He runs the spread, but he runs the ball out of the spread. So then what are we going to do? What's our excuses going to be when the wide receivers don't want to be there because they're catching 20 balls a season, just like they are now without a quarterback? When Nate Stanley was there, here we go again, wide receivers were catching a lot of footballs with Brian. Brian taught Kurt into throwing the ball more than any OC Iowa has had. Nate Stanley threw the ball 1,155 times, more than Chuck Long did in 4 seasons. More than any quarterback in Iowa history. So if you want to sit there and talk nonsense about Iowa's offense and play calls, I mean, they don't just run the same crap. Does he run the same tight end screen too much? Absolutely. I mean, Jesus, you run it once and it works, then stop, right? They're going to adjust to it. It's not going to work every time. But I mean, I will agree with that. But they don't run the same plays over and over and over. You might see the same play a few times a game. which he needs to stop that as far as plays like screen passes, because then you can see it coming.
I don't understand the hate about Stanley. I really don't. You know, it just bothers me. Oh. Well, anyway, Phil Parker, Paul says only Iowa QB to compare stats with is Brad Banks.
For a single season, yeah. Because Brad Banks had his Heisman year. He had 26 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, where Stanley's sophomore year, he had 26 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. So that was in his sophomore year, right? But, I mean, I agree. Brad Banks is the only quarterback, except for Chuck Long, to have seasons like
I would throw in Drew Tate's 2004 season. I would throw in C.J. Beathard.
He didn't have the year of Nate Stanley, not even close. Go back and look it up. Like, he only threw for 2,400 yards, and I don't even think he threw the ball 350 times that year. I mean, it looks like it, but they had a good defense, and Iowa did not have a running game. Remember, they were down to their sixth-string running back, but they still ran the ball with him. But Drew Tate made plays and made you think that he was doing a lot, which he was doing a lot with a little bit of opportunity.
Right.
So his stats don't say it, but if you watch games, he obviously put his stamps on games more than probably any quarterback under Kirk Ferentz other than Brad Banks, right? You can remember a ton of plays that Drew Tate made, but he didn't have the opportunities because in the offense back then, they ran the ball with
By the way, before there was 55-24, Drew Tate beat Ohio State like 35-7, I think.
Oh, yeah. That was when my son was a baby. My oldest boy was a baby because one of the touchdowns to Solomon, I clapped my hand so hard. He was a toddler because he fell. He sat down and just started screaming because I scared him. Like, I went, bam, with my clap. That's why I'll never forget that. It was I think it was like a 40-yard touchdown pass to Clinton Solomon.
That was the windmill celebration. He was running down the field, you know.
So, yeah, I mean, Drew Tate had his moments, right? If he played with Brian as his play caller, throwing the ball as much as Brian wants to, Drew Tate probably has better seasons than Nate Stanley because he was more accurate. Drew Tate could run around. He could throw the ball like nobody's business, but he also was too cocky, and that's why his senior year, right? He actually went down after his sophomore year because he came in his junior thinking he was God and got crushed against Iowa State, and Jason Manson lost the game for us, if you guys remember that. So, I mean, I give Nate Stanley also credit for being in every game.
I would say, you know, Brad Banks was our most mobile quarterback, but Drew Tate was our most mobile in the pocket quarterback. He was
he was our best.
Well, they had to. I think it was his sophomore year. They had to move him out of the pocket because we didn't have any running backs that year.
Yeah, that's what we just said that. Thank you very much.
Well, he said moving in the pocket. I wanted to clarify that they moved him out of the pocket.
Oh, well, they had to also because he was only 5'11", right? So he could see. They also he had legs, which was great, but he had to either drop back, 8 yards and shotgun so we could see, or move him out of the pocket because he was only 5'11".
I want to wait. I want to address this from Phil Parker's podcast.
I know it deserves addressing
because I think that's really unfair. I mean, Iowa was in the Big Ten championship game 2 years ago. They were a win from Nebraska with Nebraska away from back-to-back Big Ten West championships. Like this idea that, oh, well, I missed the excitement. We had
What did C.J. Beathard do to excite you? Like, he never had a really good season. Like, his completion percentage was 0.5% above Nate's, right? So what did Beathard do that excited you?
When he did the Iowa State game 2015, 15 maybe.
Well, I mean, he threw 2 touchdown passes.
He had those 2 scrambles, the one out of the end zone, like 45.
But that's not exciting. That just makes you laugh because he runs a 4.8 40 or whatever. So we were all laughing as he was trying to find somebody to tackle him, and there was nobody there.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, as far as excitement, Beathard didn't bring – he had to win the game against Wisconsin 10-6 with the defense, right? So, I mean, they beat Nebraska that 2015. They beat Nebraska without a third down conversion, because of Kanzeri's 2 long touchdown runs.
Well, that sounds like the bowl game this year. Iowa didn't convert a third or a fourth down. Whether they go 0 for 14 and still,
and still won the game. I mean, that's Iowa style. Exciting offense is an Iowa style.
Right.
When they bring out the exciting offense, you're going to notice the defense will slack, right? Because you're going to put your defense in bad situations, which Kurt will never do.
Kurt does not care if we win 2-0. We could get a safety and win, like, he does not care.
No,
he doesn't. He doesn't.
I don't understand. For me, excitement is winning. That's what, for me, excitement is winning. And I love why? Because he's the best quarterback in Iowa history. He's got
he's not the best quarterback in Iowa history.
He is, in my opinion. That's why I compare. No other quarterback has 2 seasons with 26 touchdowns. Not one quarterback in Iowa history.
All right. He's not better than Chuck Long. He's not.
Mr. Interception. He is better than Chuck Long. Chuck Long threw 46 interceptions.
Don't care.
Nate only threw 23, and Nate threw the ball more.
Chuck Long did throw for over 11,000 yards, though, in his career.
Chuck Long couldn't read a defense.
Chuck Long was second to the Heisman.
26 touchdowns and 14 interceptions.
If there was no Bo Jackson, Chuck Long would have won the Heisman.
I don't know what that even means. He only threw 26 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. How is that? In 4 seasons, Chuck Long threw 70 touchdowns. In 4 seasons. Nate Stanley threw 68 in 3 seasons.
It was a different game in the 80s, man. Teams played.
Right. That doesn't mean anything. You can't say he was the best when he threw 46 interceptions. The best quarterback in any college's history does not throw 46 interceptions. Let's get that. That's what he did in Detroit. Chuck could not read a defense. He went to Detroit, did the same thing. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns.
I'm with you, Phil Parker's paw. I'm with you.
All right, so let's move on. We're talking past Iowa, and I think let's talk future, like the schedule next year. Why does Iowa always schedule these small powerhouse teams that have an actual shot to beat them? We open with Utah State, and they're a fairly decent team. So why are we scheduling a team that could rise up and beat us?
Because they can. Utah State blows.
Okay, and so all right. Anyway, with the schedule for next year,
I was going to go 12-0 probably. They don't play anybody, and their defense is going to be stacked. Right. They're going to have better quarterback play, which is all they needed this year is better quarterback play, and they go 10-2.
Right.
So,
I think we're somewhere between 10 and 12 wins.
The next season's schedule is like 2015 schedule,
right?
In my opinion. Remember when they went 12-0, but they didn't play anybody really?
Yeah.
Until they played.
Was that the year that we were the football frauds?
Oh yeah, the fake ID of college football. Yeah.
But that's what next year is setting up like. So I was kind of hoping Brian would come back for that. But because the quarterback play, we're going to go back to the Nate Stanley years and score some touchdowns. So and that's my point is next year under Brian, they're going to throw the ball to the wide receivers because they can. The last 2 years, they haven't been able to. Because when the line did block, the quarterback sucked. And when the line didn't block sometimes, so the quarterback just took a sack. Like there's just nothing. If your quarterback can't complete passes with nobody around them, then you're screwed. There's nothing you can do. So that's why I want Brian to come back and redeem himself and, throw the ball, throw the rock with a quarterback that's actually accurate, more accurate than Nate, right? Nate is a very accurate quarterback. He doesn't have the arm strength of Petrus, but his accuracy and his mind is much better. And that's all that really matters. And that's what
I fully expect Cade McNamara to have similar numbers to Nate by the time his career is over at Iowa.
It will depend on who his OC is. If it's the dude from Miami, which Miami's not going to fire him, so Iowa is going to have to offer him.
What about Budmeyer? What happened to that situation?
He doesn't have enough experience in that area.
No,
he doesn't have any more experience than the current OC.
Well, no, he's only had 1 year as an OC, but that's not why. That situation is still there. That's just what's so weird. Is there's all these opportunities that it's just weird. Like Budmeyer has only had 1 year as OC, and that was at Colorado State. But he was the quarterback coach at Wisconsin for years. So, I mean,
could this be a situation where who's the former Penn State coach? He was with the Texans. Can't think of his name.
The guy before Franklin?
Yeah.
I can't think of his name either. He wasn't there long enough to remember him.
But he moved on to the Texans, and I think he may, if he lands a head coaching job, I think him and the Ferentzes are close, and maybe that's what they're waiting on is Brian being able to take a position with him, and I cannot think of that guy's name. I can actually see his face and can't think of his name.
I can't think of it either. By the way, I want to address this. Brad never cost us a game. He did. He cost us the Iowa State game.
Who?
Brad Banks, when he fumbled twice he fumbled twice in the Iowa State's touchdown part of the field.
Yeah, that 2002 Iowa State game could have cost Iowa a national championship potentially.
I know Iowa State fans were proud of that.
I'm not gonna bite anymore. I said my piece about Nate.
Yeah.
But anyway, Josh Dix. Okay, get this. He did play 31 minutes tonight. I did not know that. But he was plus 17. That's why, right?
Yeah. I never understand what those pluses and minuses means.
It's what the team is with you on the floor. When check this out. Sanford played 32 minutes and was plus 16. So when Dix and Sanford were on the floor, Iowa was winning by 16 and 17 points. That's what that means, Dean. You got it?
Yeah.
Dean, are you there?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like you lock up. Now, do you know why Chris had dead legs? He played 45 minutes.
Yeah.
45.
He
never sat. That was the whole game.
Yeah. And you could tell especially in the overtime, airballing, a couple of shots, and I mean they were well short. It was just he had dead legs.
Perkins and Ulis only played 12 minutes.
Yeah, they were minus, right?
And they were Ulis was -7, Perkins was -9.
Yeah.
So when they were on the floor, Iowa was losing.
Yeah.
Right.
We saw it.
Well, Ulis did hit a big three, but I can't recall a single basket or anything positive out of Perkins tonight. I can't think of any. No big assist.
Perkins was 1 for 6 shooting.
Yeah.
There hasn't been much. I think he's trying to force it right now. At the beginning of the season, the game came to him because they played lesser opponents, so he didn't have to work that hard. And I think, now he's trying to recreate the beginning of the season.
Wow. Mulvey played 13 minutes, and he was +4.
Yeah.
How many points did he have tonight? Just 2?
4.
Had 4?
Yeah, the fast break. Yeah, the fast break layup, which was really impressive. Then he had the he had I think he just had a putback. I think he got a putback.
He had a rebound and putback, if I remember right. But Connor McCaffrey played 37 minutes and was plus 10. So that means when Connor went to the bench, Iowa was losing as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Connor only had like 3 points tonight too. So
yeah, but he was playing defense and he was taking care of the ball.
Is that you, Paul?
Wasn't me.
Oh, I don't know. But
it was me. Not my usual notification.
Philip Braca was only plus 5, but you got to think he played with Ulis. He played with Ulis and Perkins, right?
My wife was out in the living room watching the overtime while I was back here watching the overtime in the office. She was texting all kinds of what was going on in overtime.
Guys, we're getting close to that hour mark. I think we should really start wrapping it up. I've got to get to bed.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
On the East Coast.
Yeah, we need to get more organized on our anchor of the show.
But we got a little delayed by overtime, so
we got delayed by overtime, but we need some questions so we can answer, Paul.
Right. Okay.
I got to show off my sexiness, so I guess we're good.
I got a little bit of it out, but I hate sometimes when we get flowing and talking, and then the comments come up. I kind of get off track.
I just want to say this will be my last contribution to the show, guys. If you have not watched the Spencer Lee Santos video at Purdue, it's absolutely worth a watch. Just to come back from down 8-1 to get a fall in the first period, just amazing. It's legendary, and I implore anyone, even if you're not a wrestling fan, we've got the link on the Facebook page. Watch, take 3 minutes out of your day and watch that and just be impressed.
You don't even need 3 minutes.
Right. I'm just saying.
2.5. All right. Thanks, Paul. All right, guys.
All right. I'm good.
Next time, I don't know when the next 3 of us will be on the show together, but we'll talk about that behind the scenes.
Yep. Talk to you guys later.
Bye, guys.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Bye.